What is your number 3, sir?
You
I did. I saw it. I liked it. Didn't quite make it up as high as 10 for me.
No, that's fine.
But it's a solid movie. You know.
I really appreciate. I don't know. Maybe like behind the scenes Hollywood. I think the archival footage and the
VHS
insight
tapes and stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know. It's like. This is the ultimate, the kind of narrator.
Unreliable. Yeah. So that was
this is the ultimate unreliable narrator story.
Honestly, that's the one beef I had with this. That
a lot of people have that beef.
Yeah, like that's the. It's very painted with rose-colored glasses to him.
I mean, you know, I agree, but to me, I think he does a fair listen. You know what I mean? I think. Yeah. It goes into a lot of different problems and things that he brought upon himself in certain ways or whatever. You know what I mean? But
they touch upon it at least. They don't ignore it completely, but they could go into it more. But it's also this is not that type of story.
It's a Val Kilmer movie made by Val Kilmer. Mm-hmm. How bad do you think it's going to paint Val Kilmer?
Exactly. No.
You know what I mean? So listen, I think it's fascinating because it goes into a lot of different things about Val Kilmer that I did not really know. I mean, I know Val Kilmer as Iceman and Top Gun and Batman, the worst Batman, and just being like, in Doc Holliday in Tombstone and the dude in Heat that I can't remember his name. You know what I mean?
Ponytail guy.
Ponytail guy. Yeah. So like I've always kind of like, oh, Val Kilmer, he seems cool or whatever. But this I think I always thought of Val Kilmer as kind of this like cavemanish, stone-faced kind of moron actor, bro. And this really opened my eyes. Like, oh, he's so interesting and kind of creative and artistic and like aloof and weird that it basically like ended up kind of ruining his life almost, right? Because I think he developed, and they touch on it in the documentary, but they touch on his reputation as being incredibly difficult to work with. And they kind of they touch on it, and he mentions it, and he has his version of the truth about why I didn't get hired on. He was like, I chose to do the Saint instead of Batman, second Batman, and the producers of Batman would say,
like, he's
no, we hated
with.
you. And
Joel Schumacher
or Was it Schumacher?
Schumacher directed it. I don't know if you're talking about. He did the one with Val Kilmer and then the Clooney one after.
Right, but like he was not well liked by the people involved in those.
And then Island of Dr. Moreau.
The Island.
They made a whole documentary about that.
I mean, but just like I loved that section of the movie where he's talking about the heartache and the brutalness of setting the stage of like, I took this script really, just to work with Marlon Brando. And you get there, and I've been served divorce papers, and I have to go do this insane, horrible movie. Marlon Brando doesn't give a fuck. Richard Stanley is fired 4 days into production.
Oh, and then it shows the footage of him. Like, the thing I did like is those VHS clips that they did show, and I will give them credit. They showed him not in the best light there, but like I think was it Frankenheimer?
He's arguing with
John Frankenheimer's like standing outside his door, and it's him. Like basically his not leaving my trailer moment in his hotel room, right?
Because so I think there's footage of Val Kilmer documenting Frankenheimer yelling at him about rehearsing or something like that, and there were so many reports of like Val Kilmer put a cigarette on someone's face apparently and reportedly. I mean, like there was a lot of craziness. Like Marlon Brando wouldn't come out of his trailer until Val Kilmer would come out, and Val Kilmer wouldn't come out until Brando came out. But then there's like footage in the Val Kilmer documentary of them kind of hanging out, and it's just like, and it is like it's Brando just like sitting on a what are they called?
The what's it called, the hammock? It's just
hammock,
but he's like in full Jabba the Hutt phase. It's like he's
absolutely he's like, give me a push.
but that's great. Like even that little moment in particular, for hearing all those stories about how tumultuous that shoot was, to actually see some footage from it, especially those little moments, is actually really cool.
No, and the David Thewlis, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Kind of
star of it.
The poor bastard that's just caught in the middle, and they were just you could tell that they had a kind of a kindred relationship of suffering through this. You know what I mean? So just very interesting. I love seeing behind the scenes. I love the story, at least his version of how things kind of came to be, you know, going all the way back, through, you know, through Top Gun, Real Genius, the what was the spy movie, the like goofy,
not the same. You're talking about Spy Hard. You're talking about the Zucker Brothers movie, right? The airplane guys. Where he's like the Elvis impersonator or Surfing USA guy, and
he's like a young spy or something, and it's like Kentucky Fried Movie type shit.
Yeah, yeah, and he's great in that, and it was cool too. I didn't realize certain things, like he was hot shit from the beginning. Like he was like one of the youngest.
No, he went to Juilliard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I mean, I didn't realize that. I thought he was just kind of a good-looking, weird-looking bro dude that got into movies or whatever. And it's like, no, like he had a kind of tragic, weird childhood where, you know, his brother died, and he was making, you know, VHS home movies, and his brothers, you know, were directing, acting, starring, doing skits and stuff, and that's all he wanted to do. And I never got that vibe, you know what I mean, of like all the stuff he did. But I mean, I never thought he was bad. I just thought, man, like he's had kind of a weird career, but I mean,
it's also like you can maybe understand his frustration because he's had a lot of good roles over the years, but he also had a lot of roles that he didn't do him the best service or whatever. So you know, you can understand the frustration.
So he went into, you know, why he didn't think certain things worked out, or he was upset with this or whatever, and they go into a lot of like interview footage of like Jay Leno asking him like, why are you so difficult to work with or whatever, or blah blah blah, you know, and stuff like that. So I think if you like deep inside look at a real story, I mean, the guy was fucking Batman. You know what I mean? So like it was, you know, a lot of people think, I don't know, I read one article by some like old Hollywood actor like saying that, you know, his own movie was too easy on him, and the director should be held accountable, and blah blah blah. They should have, you know, talked about more different failed relationships of his or whatever. And I'm like, man, they kind of highlight his divorce.
Yeah,
and stuff,
and it's
know?
also,
like, what do you want?
I kind of also got the sense, especially since he's so involved in it and his family's so involved in it, and I would like to highlight, I think one of the best touches the movie has is, you know, Val Kilmer. The whole crux of it is he's gotten throat cancer and can't act anymore and all this stuff, and has to talk with the throat thing. I forgot what it's called.
He's got a tracheostomy.
Trach thing. So, but his son narrates it for him, like narrates dialogue that Val wrote, and his son sounds just like him, and it's like all creepy, honestly, but like also incredibly heartwarming and stuff, and that really sells a lot of the emotional moments. But sorry, where was I going with that? But the movie feels less like let's get into all of the nitty gritty of his life, and honestly, it feels more like a living wake. You know, it's like a tribute to him.
Man.
You know,
it's creepy, and especially, and it's not always like, I don't know, people criticizing it because it's too fluffy for him, but like, there's a lot of scenes that are tough to watch, like the frigging Comic-Con scene where he's signing people's stuff, and he's Batman, and he's you know, and there's just, I was like, so it's come to this, you know, you just don't imagine Val Kilmer going to Comic-Con and signing headshots and, hey, can you write, I'll always be your wingman, Iceman, you know what I mean, type
this
shit.
This is
like,
not what I went to Juilliard for, literally.
No, man. And I was like, I was bummed out watching it, and he has to like go take a break, and he's like sick, and it's not like flattering, and it doesn't look great, and it's not fun. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. What do you want him to do? What do you want those directors to do? What do you want the editing?
He's showing, like, just by doing this documentary, he's like humbling himself in a way that's got to be tough for somebody that's like, you know, as an actor and as a movie star, like your image is you, and you're showing this new version of you. And, you know, there was a while where it was like Val Kilmer, people were wondering what happened to him because they knew about the throat surgery and everything, and then he was still like popping up in movies. Like people always look back to The Snowman, where he had to act, they had to dub him over because he couldn't speak or whatever. And so it's interesting to finally actually get, like you said, his side of the story. And it really, you know, it's one of those things that it's like easy to be like, oh yeah, Val Kilmer was an asshole and now he can't act and blah blah blah, who cares? But like,
I mean, and they go into that like, oh, here's the Mars movie, and here's that, like, they go into
just through his like even his shitty movies.
I mean, like they go, I mean, because Val Kilmer, like from the 80s to the 90s, big star, and then around whenever, like the Salton Sea type shit.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know what I mean?
2000s, like so many actors from the 90s, like there's like a slow decline, and I'd say probably
Right,
by
'cause
the
I
end of the
think
2000s he was not very relevant.
No. I mean, yeah, like I think it was. He basically was by the year 2000. He was basically like, what was it? Red Planet or
Yeah,
what was
Red
what was
Planet
his
was
Mars
his,
movie?
Carrie-Anne Moss, and it came out. It was one of those movies that came out at the same time as two other Mars movies or something. I think.
Yeah, I mean that was it. I mean, you know,
his last big one that I can remember was that Robert Downey Jr. movie. Was it Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? But like after that, he had a few, and he was still acting and stuff, but he never reached his height that he used to have.
He did like episodes of Entourage. He did like Lords of
MacGruber.
Dogtown or something.
Yeah.
MacGruber.
Yeah.
He did like remember Alexander, where he was like his dad. Yeah, you remember that?
Or he played Johnny Wad that one time or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it. Believe me, like I don't know, man. I don't remember it being incredibly like wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about incredible Val Kilmer's 2000s were. No, it was like here's a timeline of this man's career falling apart. His marriage is done. You know what I mean? And just like you went from being Batman and married to like the love of his life to being divorced and on an island with Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of heartbreak and crazy shit. So I don't know. One of my favorite films of the year. Take it or leave it. It is what it is. I thought it was incredible. I wish we had kind of more shit with stuff like this from the actual people while they're still alive, because this felt like something that should maybe come out when they're after they're passed on. You know what I mean? But you know, I found it fascinating. I found it awesome and incredible that he had all that footage of like Kevin Bacon and Sean Penn when they were like 18, you know, and the behind the scenes footage of on the set of Top Gun and making fun of Tom Cruise and impersonating Tony Scott and all that shit. I mean, I thought it was all great. So I loved all that shit.
Yeah, man. I'm all for it, dude. I think that was a good pick.